Peace, love, all that, man. You already know. I ain't never been more excited to drop this drop. You're gonna hear my washing machine in the background. Matter of fact, shh, don't tell Chef Candy I turned off the dryer. Perhaps my socks won't be dry. Yo, I had a good time today, man. Peace to Chef Candy, man. She's such a wonderful queen, such a wonderful mother. She gave this big party, what I'm saying, for a big graduation party, what I'm saying. She's been homeschooling really all of them, what I'm saying. My daughter, what I'm saying, would typically be, going through kindergarten and all that, going to first grade. So she did the whole thing just as an experiment, in kindergarten is a good time, to try it out, see how you feel. And my mother being an educator, my mother's been a teacher. She started with special education, you know what I mean? And then she went into, teaching in all kind of schools. She's been a principal for over 20 years in Watts, Compton. Everybody knows my mother out there. But, so she gave her all this curriculum and all this. So they just had such a good time with this homeschooling experiment. Hopefully we are able to continue it the right way. But anyway, we had a good party, man. We had a blast, cupcakes and everything, man. So I got a headache. I got a sugar rush. I got some water. So, trust me, it's not vodka, man. It's not that clear, man. It's not that ever clear, man. Nah, man. And, love to Chef Candy because, she's, I'm real excited. She's working on her first published authorship, her first book, cookbook. It's a beautiful title. It's called Chef Candy's Electric Trinity Recipes to the Most High. And each one of her recipes will have, some scripture, some Torah attached to it, based on her experiences, our experiences, present and past, man, and just her upbringing in Trinidad. So we call it Electric Trinity, or she calls it Electric Trinity, because she's really learning how to, create more alkaline, type of options and add that electricity, that Dr. CB, that, Professor Spirits, try to be more mucus free, more electric, kind of trying to combine those things. Not one thing is going to be the totality of it all, but she's conscious of these particular health paradigms, and she cooks based on Levitical law. None of that seafood, none of that swine. You know what I mean? So that's Chef Candy's Electric Trinity recipes to the Most High, and it's all about the Most High and giving her experience. So that backed up with scripture. That hopefully everybody will be able to relate to that loves her food already on Instagram. Her website's coming back up and all this kind of stuff. She's gonna have her own YouTube channel. But yeah, shout out to Chef Candy, man, doing her thing with 4 kids, man, doing 4 beautiful children, doing graduation parties, and writing a cookbook, writing her book, man, and doing her first published work. So I love it. I don't know how many recipes are going to be in each book. She's going to keep it going with different themes and wonderful scriptures and inspiration and wonderful pictures of her food. Check us out on Instagram at 432 to drop, and you'll see Chef Candy's recipes there. Facebook, she used to put them all over the place before I said peace to Facebook. And pretty soon I'm going to say peace to YouTube, and you'll be able to find us still at 432todrop.com, and we'll run, pretty much our business, straight, in one place, have our family being in one place. All the family business will be taken care of, the radio business, all that stuff will be at 432todrop.com. And yeah, man, just shout out to Chef Candy. I don't want to get off track. I've never been more excited, man, because this drop, is just really timely. It's all about timing with these things. So I'm just going to go into it. You see the title. I don't know what I'm going to title it yet, so you know it before I know it right now in some type of way, which is going to tie into our simulation. It's going to tie into more understanding, some documentation that's imperative. And I don't know if this is going to be a 2 or 3 part thing. I'm going to try to knock it out. I think I got enough space to hopefully knock this out in one take. But if not, you already know, I'll do a 6-part series. So, love to y'all, man, and peace to everybody, man, vibrating with us. We're going to get to it. Rockabye, baby. Put this to Betty bye-bye. Just give some good attention to this subject. Because, right now we really got to know that, we're not spinning. We got to be oriented. If we're not oriented, man, we're not going to be able to catch the wave the way we should be. Before it became like, you know, people were like, oh, flat earth versus this, you know, some type of like game, man. This ain't no game. To be spinning, it's not funny. I don't think it's funny to literally think you're spinning, subconsciously or not, at 1,000 miles per hour every second of the day. Again, when will you ever have time to be still? When will you ever be still? Will you ever be still one day in your life if you're subconsciously spinning with this earth thing? Or do you trust your senses again and know that you're firm, fixed, immovable? Check out that flat drop, you know, where I dropped a bunch of scriptures on that as well. But yeah, this is going to be some great stuff. A lot of just cool videos, man, that I just want to share with y'all that's been in my archives for a minute. I've been wanting to get them out, and a couple of good documentation, some NASA stuff. I'll save the NASA stuff for last, man, so I can put I want to keep y'all, you know, involved. Of course, y'all can just skip ahead to the end. But for those that are down for the ride, I got some great documentation that y'all want to see at the very end of this thing. So I'm just, you know, I'm happy, man. If you can't tell, whenever it's dropped, I feel like this. I start getting like, you know, I feel like I can do like some Afro samurai type of thing, man. So, all right, let's go. Wow, chicka, wow, wow. All right, man. Enough of that mushy stuff. Let's get to it. Drop Nation. What's pop? We're gonna go. Look, we're just gonna go. Just go for the ride, surf the wave. I don't really know, man. I got some stuff lined up, I think. So sit back. It might be a couple hours. Get some, you know, like, let us find the truth. So, man, get some popcorn, man. Get some snacks. Chill out, man. Feed your brain, whatever you gotta do. And then, you know, when you're ready, press play. Let's go. All right. Let me get my full screen on for my party people. Turn down the brightness a little bit. Come on, man. Don't play. Don't you play. All right. Oh, man, I'm fucking excited, bro. Bro, I'm freaking stoked, you know. I'm like hanging, man. Let's do it, dude. Rock on. All right. So, I got all these links already, but I'm going to drop these links, obviously. It's about 10 of them that you're going to see first before the usual links that I continue to add to. I might just keep these on this as usual links because I think these are all great YouTube links. All right, so let's go. You're reading that. Why the big 500-year-old flat plane Earth deception in 5 minutes. So why the deception? If you never heard about this, you haven't checked out the videos, World Beyond the Poles 1, 2, and 3 that I already put out. All the other flat drop that's on this channel, you never seen none of that. You just like, what? You know, hopefully this is for you. I wanted to kind of go back to just like some good pure water here, man, and just really flow into some real fun channels, some real good vibration. And we're going to pontificate, man. We're just going to vibe and just have some thought about this thing. This is not like, oh, you know, this is going to be research for you to look back on and stuff like that. So have fun with this, all right? Let's go.
And that only leaves why. Why have they done this? What's the point of this grand deception? I think Eric Dubay explains it best.
Yeah, I mean, our eyes and experience tell us the Earth is flat and motionless, and everything in the sky revolves around us. But when we cease to believe our own eyes and experience, we have to prostrate ourselves at the feet of these very pseudoscientists who are blinding us, treat them as experts, astronomical priests who have special knowledge only they can access, like the Hubble telescope. So by brainwashing us of something so gigantic and fundamental, it actually makes every other kind of lesser indoctrination a piece of cake. Earth being the flat, fixed center of the universe around which everything in the heavens revolves gives a special importance and significance not only to Earth, but to us humans, the most intelligent among the intelligent designers' designs. By turning Earth into a spinning ball thrown around the sun and shot through infinite space from a godless Big Bang, they turn humanity into a random, meaningless, purposeless accident of a blind, dumb universe. So it's like trauma-based mind control, beating the divinity out of us with their mental manipulations. People are always asking, why do they do this? Other than the obvious profit margin motive, NASA being the biggest black budget black hole in existence, sucking in over $30 billion taxpayer money for the fake moon landings alone. Nowadays, hundreds of billions of dollars, and not just NASA, but RASA and all the other fake space organizations around the world giving CGI images for hundreds of billions of dollars. So this modern atheist, Big Bang, heliocentric, globe Earth, chance evolution paradigm spiritually controls humanity by removing God or any sort of intelligent design and replaces purposeful divine creation with haphazard, random, cosmic coincidence. And so by removing Earth from the motionless center of the universe, these Masons have moved us physically and metaphysically from a place of supreme importance to one of complete nihilistic indifference. If the Earth is the center of the universe, then the ideas of God, creation, and a purpose for human existence are resplendent. But if the Earth is just one of billions of planets revolving around billions of stars and billions of galaxies, then the ideas of God, creation, and a specific purpose for Earth and human existence become highly implausible. So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world. Their rich, powerful corporations with their slick sun cult logos sell us idols to worship, slowly taking over the world while we tacitly believe their science, vote for their politicians, buy their products, listen to their music, watch their movies, all sacrificing our souls at the altar of materialism. It's a big deception. I'd say it's the biggest cover-up and conspiracy in history. We've been completely deluded for 500 years.
So there you have it. There are a great many other points I could have raised, and I've barely scratched the surface. But if any of these points are true, then we have to abandon the model we've accepted thus far. Now, I don't know for sure that the Earth is flat, but I've seen enough evidence to make me strongly feel that that is the case. And moreover, my spidey sense, my intuition, tells me that this is true. I don't know what's beyond Antarctica. It could be a dome. It could be an infinite flat plane. It could even be just more Earth. More Earth than we realise, just as Admiral Byrd found.
Admiral Byrd.
There are many who think that ultimately this is unimportant and just a distraction. But I see this as one of the most important revelations we could ever have. If this is the case, if this flat Earth is our universe, then it elevates man and this Earth to supreme importance, where every life, human or otherwise, is significant and sacred.
I love it because these guys, they stumble on the understanding of the orientation that's way up in the book of Enoch. You'll understand it from Enoch, but it's some new thing, right? It's some new flat Earth thing. Yet there's major studies, major experimentations, and major debates happening in the 1800s, and there's all kind of documentation before that where no one has just laid down and accepted this Copernican model 500 years ago that the Church of England and the Lutheran, all these people put it into effect and made everybody tuck away the flat Earth maps and accept the globe. And what's the result of the globe? You're just a little ball spinning and spinning. All this movement, 70,000 miles per hour, all this movement, you'll never be still. You're just a little speck of dust. You're not important. It was just an accident. It's just a big bang. There is no God. Now, what's the inverse of that? The Creator created the heaven and earth. That He separated the waters from the waters with a firmament and stretched it out like a tent to live in. Do I have to show you a picture of a tent? He said, I stretched out the heavens, rakwa, beat it out physically with my right hand and stretched it out to the ends of the earth like a tent to live in. That is your world. Above that dome, that firmament, that tent, the top of your tent, is other higher heaven vibrational layers that they have been trapping you inside. They have not let you get back to your full potential. They have kept you with 440 hertz, disconnecting your DNA. They don't want you above the firmament. So they keep you with the celestial. They keep you with the pyramids. Egypt, celestial, sun pyramid, moon pyramid, celestial. Worship the sun, the sun, the sun. Helios, Apollo, Apollyon, Abaddon, Lucifer, the morning star, celestial. His kingdom is celestial. The Most High's is the throne. Heya, heya. So when they look at like, why is it so important? This is the biggest thing ever. You know, now suddenly things become more significant. Let's get that last part back. Because this is the whole thing. It's the last 5 seconds. All the drops in the last 5 seconds.
Where every life, human or otherwise, is significant and sacred.
Every life, human or otherwise, is significant. Okay, great. Animals, everybody, right? But if this is true, that means that everything is revolving not just around human life, but could it be around the children of the Creator? Like the entire Biblios, anything in writing in stone, even in the Quran, in the second surah, it's just talking about the promise to the children of Israel, that they're not forgotten. Even in the Quran, it has to say that. They have to keep telling you the truth because that's part of the game, right? They have to at least say, look, we told you the truth, but you just didn't get it. He's saying, yeah, there's nothing more important in this human life, but there's nothing more important than Israel. That's why from Genesis, you know what I'm saying, how far you go? You go to Malachi, you go to Revelations, how far are you going to go? You go to the Maccabees, I don't care. You're going to hear about Israel. You're going to hear about Israel. Even Christus has to say, I only came for Israel. Why? Because he has to still give you the drop while he still takes your energy, hijacks you, makes you pray to him, wait for him. Your Creator says in Isaiah, I'm your Savior. Besides me, there's none. I'm coming back for war. My heritage, Israel, my first begotten son. Wake up. So everything's about you. Let's go to the next. Now he mentioned a Admiral Byrd interview. You know what I'm saying? He mentioned an interview he did. So I want to get to that interview, you know. Like I said, I don't know which way I'm going. But I happen to have some stuff lined up, man, that I'm happy that I got it up. So I got the interview up that he was talking about. This is in 1947, live television in 1947. And this is what this Admiral Byrd says. Now, this guy, he's like the most ranking general, or, you know, admiral, you know what I'm saying, of the U.S., I believe, Navy. And he's done all these, you know, special ops missions. And then he goes to Antarctica. I don't know if they break it down on this one, but later we'll talk about Operation, I believe, High Jump, where he, you know, took over 5,000 soldiers to Antarctica. Why do you need 5,000 soldiers to go to Antarctica? Imagine him taking 5,000 soldiers to China. So something was going on where he needed 5,000 soldiers to go to Antarctica. Now you got all these bases, all this other stuff. Who are they fighting? Who are they expecting to fight? What's going on, right? So we don't know anything about this place. We think it's over there, not to be. This place is surrounding us. We are surrounded by an ice wall. It's 200 feet high, and it's called Antarctica. And you are kept in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying? The ranchers keep the cattle in the middle. They don't let you get to the edge, right? They sink your boat. You need a special pass just to go for a little vacation, to go to some of the islands around Antarctica, but they don't let you go to your own expedition. No. They keep you inside of Middle Earth. Meanwhile, there's more land outside of the ring of the Arctic Circle. What did this Admiral Richard E. Byrd have to say about the South Pole and Antarctica? Listen for yourself.
It's time for the Longines Chronoscope, a television journal of the important issues of the hour, brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. A presentation of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company, maker of Longines, the world's most honored watch, and Whitnor, distinguished companion to the world-honored Longines. Good evening. This is Frank Knight. May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
The North Pole used to be a no-man's land, but these are the days when, by buying a ticket on a commercial airliner, you can fly across the North Pole and drink a cocktail at the same time. Yet only 60 or more years ago, about 35 years ago, our guest tonight found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans.
Admiral Byrd is the greatest living explorer. You heard it yourself from them. They consider him the greatest living explorer. So do you think this is play? What he got to say?
You've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And it's
from Middle America, from Middle Earth. From Middle America, from Middle Earth. Did y'all think this was a game? You see, when we start to understand our orientation, you understand, I spent my whole life thinking the earth was round. I know I know this is crazy, because they gave you a globe when you were a child, and that was the inception of your world. And your Most High says, don't make no graven images of anything above or below, and they give you the whole thing, and they call it a globe, and this is all the land there is. They just started exploring it, man. They just found you. They still don't know you. You gotta tell them who you are. They don't know. But what do they know? You said it's bigger than America. Across the ice, away from Middle America or Middle Earth.
well today, an area as big as the United States
Huh?
that's never been seen by a human being.
Whoa.
And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Wow.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral, would you say that this
Look how
trip
happy he
into
is.
both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they're safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Atka, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that?
Now, you see how open they used to be about this stuff? He's basically kind of telling you the truth. I mean, I'm sure it's more to it, but damn, would they tell you that today? We got a reconnaissance mission, and then we're going to go further and explore? No, what are we talking about today? We're going to go to Mars. We're going to go to the moon. Of course, we ain't been to the moon because they can't get even past the Van Allen belt, which is the firmament. They can't get past because there's waters above. That's what the stars are. They're vibrating in a medium of water. Put a bubble in water. Look at those. Man, all right, check them out on the site. All the somatics experiments with sound going into water. You'll see a star. Even in the bubble will explode into light. Are they this honest today? I mean, I'm sure it's a lot he ain't dropping, but come on. He's like, man, we got a lot to explore, man. We got so much world out there. Now they got you in prison. Now you're on a ball. Does all this extra land make sense if you're on a ball? Where would that fit on the ball? Where would this big-ass continent he's talking about, beyond Antarctica, beyond the circle, an Arctic Circle, beyond your known land that they told you in school, before they started hiding it to you, this was 1947, and he's just dropping it. And look at his eyes, man. He can't wait to get there because they know there's more resources. Let him talk about the resources.
Very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year.
Year after year. So the planets now... See, NASA has replaced him. He was actually exploring real land. He was actually doing what NASA says they're doing. NASA is underwater doing moonwalks underwater in underwater facilities that they admit to because they train there, and it looks the same when they film. You even see the bubbles. So you see, he was a real explorer, and now there are none. There are no more explorers. They don't allow there to be any. Now we got to go after planets that don't exist. Now we got to go to some other solar system. But we haven't even explored Antarctica. We haven't even explored our oceans. They're like 90% unexplored. But we want to go to Mars. Does that make sense? Or is that asinine? Is that fakery? Is it trickery? How much money are these people going to have to cough up when they realize all these telescopes, all this stuff, and they've been looking at the ceiling the whole time? Damn, we thought we were looking in the outer space, but we've been looking at the ceiling, dog.
The world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand. I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia. But why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world.
As the world shrinks with an ever-increasing, you know what I mean? It's like he's saying as we get so populated, we're going to have more areas that we live. We need to move further away from all these indigenous people. Let's get that back. Hey, I've seen this before, but, you know, with fresh eyes, man.
Of the nation.
It's amazing.
Those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. One reason they're interested, it's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that,
listen,
it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources.
Natural resources.
And, you know, one reason they're interested, it's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime, because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources.
Gold, diamond, uranium, copper, silver. Do you understand why you haven't heard shit about Antarctica since 1947? Now, he's going to drop how everybody's about to get involved and how it might become violent because so many people are going to want to tap into it. And what do they tell you today about Antarctica? Oh, it's just research, science, research, science.
Future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime, because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration,
Population.
far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have military importance?
Now, you can look up the 1953, I believe, the Antarctic Treaty, or it could be 61. Just look it up, the Antarctic Treaty. This is before the Antarctic Treaty. So about less than 10 years, he's done. He disappeared somewhere in Antarctica, I believe. Never hear from him again. All right. And then they do this treaty 6 to 10 years after this interview. And now there's about 53 of the most powerful countries that have been aligned with this treaty. And all these so-called wars, Russia, China, whatever, all of them have never broken the Antarctic Treaty. It's the one treaty that has never been broken. How important is this treaty? If it's even, come on, man. If this is what he's saying, imagine what's really there. See, when the Most High says, I'm going to remind you that you're rich, that you're about to be living in paradise, just listen to me, follow my commandments, get in line, get in order. I got something planned for you. Do you know how much land he has for you? Do you understand at all the kingdom that is coming? He sees it with his own eyes. When they go in there, space missions and, we're going to leave the planet, all they do is fly over to the land that he just talked about. They fly over to the land that you don't know about. That's why the space shuttles never go straight up. They always go. Then when you see them from an airplane, watch the airplane views of rocket launches. From an airplane, then you start seeing it just, it just levels out and goes straight. Where does it go? It's just a plane and it lands in one of those lands beyond the ice. That's my theory. What's yours?
It has some, and as the world shrinks, it will continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration.
Whoa.
Thus bringing these places closer. And in the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Well, has the development of air power increased the strategic importance of places like the
very much
Palma Peninsula, we'll say?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica. Then between there and Cape Horn.
I've heard it said that there are 7 continents in the world, and one of them has never been seen by a woman, and that's Antarctica. Is that actually true?
Well, if the Palma Peninsula is an island, as far as I know, that's true. No woman's ever stepped foot upon the Antarctic continent, and it's the most peaceful place in the world.
No, it's not an island. See how he said that.
I understand that now that you're working with the Arnold Bread Company in charge of frozen foods. Now, is there any future for frozen foods down these frozen extremities?
Well, I think the human race can be helped by that. This was thought out by Dean Arnold, who's, in my opinion, a great humanitarian. He learned that we went down there after 4 or 5 years and finished a meal that we had left there on the table when we had evacuated Little America. everything was perfect, including the bread. So he got the idea of this frozen bread. And already he sent some to Europe, and it worked very well over there for some of the starving people. So you can store it down to the Antarctic and against the lean years, and you wouldn't have any people in the world really starving if you did that.
So in the event of an atomic war.
And he just gave you the drop on how to cure starvation using the resources in Antarctica, if not just the space alone. Have you heard about this starving program? Has any of your presidents came and campaigned and said, you remember that program Admiral Byrd said live? He said it live on television in 1947, whenever this was. Yeah, that frozen bread joint, now that we've stored up so much since 1940s, we have so much for the people right now in the world. Have you heard about the starving frozen bread program? Ain't that a shame? I mean, that's just a shame. That's all I gotta say.
Stay there forever.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica.
Listen
what
up.
are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world.
Not covered in snow.
Well, that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We're pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world.
Oil?
Now, by far, the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
It was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
Uranium?
Secret, is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there.
Oh.
You know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic.
Admiral, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about
I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic. Why don't you ever hear about Antarctica? If he has such a concern about the world fighting over it, is that why they had to do the Antarctic Treaty less than 10 years from this interview? Is that why they had to make a treaty so the world doesn't fight over Antarctica? Let's hear it again, shall we? This is pretty good. Gotta admit it.
You know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic.
Admiral, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there. The New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and the Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make this sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long.
Whoa.
Because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Well, Admiral Byrd, are private expeditions a thing of the past?
Before we move on, you heard that loud and clear. His concern was that it wasn't going to be peaceful. And I suggest that's why we have the Antarctic Treaty. Look it up.
Expedition and exploration, making expedition and exploration now purely a government function because of tremendous
no, I
cost
don't think so. I think down south it may be more or less a thing of the past, but not other expeditions that go. There's a lot of them going north now.
This latest expedition now on the way is a government expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government.
Admiral, may I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau, 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200.
The Antarctic continent surrounded by a belt of ice. You see how he's dropping it? A belt of ice is what? What's a belt of ice? A ice wall, a circular ice wall. Africa, America, Australia, India, Antarctica surrounds you. It's a wall, a circular wall. Beyond that ice is more land. That's what he's talking about. This stuff. This is your Mars and your Venus. These are your other planets because they're new worlds. Remember, when they found you here, they didn't know about your land, so they called you a new world. Now there's another new world and more new worlds. But you're on the ball spinning, right?
Miles thick. Now the south is a plateau. It gets in some places 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000. And it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world. The north really isn't very cold up there on the Arctic Ocean.
Compared to south, I don't know, Bert, we often hear it said that our young Americans now aren't as hardy as their forefathers. Do you think that Americans do measure up to the standards, the physical standards and morale standards of the past?
I do. I don't believe that. I think they're just as hardy.
Well, what would you say was the most valuable factor on an expedition? Is it morale, or physical courage, or is it sheer equipment?
Well, I've always thought that loyalty was by far the most important trait.
Loyalty.
The British told me that when I first went down in 28, that I couldn't possibly get through the winter night without a mutiny if I took more than 20 men. But to serve science, I had to take 42 men. Then I took 56 the next time, and so on. And I did find that loyalty was the most important thing during the winter night when it's very hard on your nerves. I think that's trait.
Well, that's a very valuable characteristic at any time. Well, thank you very much, Admiral Byrd. It's been a great pleasure to have you here tonight.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
The opinions expressed on the Longines Chronoscope were those of the speaker. The editorial
Any
board
questions?
for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope was...
Any questions? All right, let's keep pushing. So, all these links are for you. I won't do too much. I want to cover a lot. All right, so you got it. Take what you will. Now, when we talk about the dome, the firmament, all right, they have been trying to burst a hole in it. What are they trying to do with HARP? They're trying to blast the ionosphere, heat up the, you know what I'm saying, inside the tent, right? They're trying to heat up inside of your tent. You live in a tent, they're trying to heat up inside your tent. What's the result? Forest fires, earthquakes, all this stuff. They're blasting all this, you know what I'm saying, all this voltage, you know what I'm saying, all this hertz, you know what I'm saying, all this energy. They're heating up your world. They're calling it global warming, but they're doing it, and it's called HARP. Higher Mark, you know what I'm saying, drop some great stuff on there. So let's check this out. This is called Journey to Find the Dome. All right, this is interesting. It's called Nuking the Dome. So it's going to give you some drops, some real government drop on what, look, if you tortured the Most High's people, you would want to leave too. If you went through all that hate and you realize who you did it to, then you realize, no, there's no other planets. You're stuck here. They're trying to get out. They think they found a way out, you know, with the poles and all that, past the Antarctic, you know, ice and all that. So that's some other drop we'll get to. But this is called Nuking the Dome. Check it out. Operation High Jump. Shout out to A-Plane Truth. Check them out.
Sarah von Braun ran NASA's Saturn rocket program for the first Mercury missions through the alleged Apollo missions to the moon. Just as NASA was beginning to be developed to allegedly counter the Russians, who were said to be the first in space, resulting in the Great Space Race, von Braun had plenty of time to go to Hollywood and collaborate with Paramount Pictures and Walt Disney to sell space travel to the public.
Wow.
Man in Space was the pre-programming of the public to accept vast sums of expenditures to counter the Cold War evil empire. It is common knowledge that before coming to NASA, von Braun was the wunderkind leader of the V-2 or Vengeance 2 rocket program for the Germans during World War II. According to a 2011 BBC documentary, the attacks resulted in the deaths of an estimated 9,000 civilians and military personnel, while 12,000 forced laborers and concentration camp prisoners were killed producing the weapons.
Damn, I like that. Gotta like that.
So let's get back to the beginnings of NASA in 1958, where every photo and every story of space exploration has come from for over the past 50 years.
Woo.
The first NASA administrator in 1958 was Dr. Thomas Keith Glennon. Previously to NASA, he was a studio manager for 10 years at Paramount Studios in Hollywood. Then from 1942 to 47, he was administrator and director of the U.S. Naval Underwater Sound Laboratory, and then after the war was production manager for the photographic film manufacturing company ANSCO, also known as GAF. His work in movie making and underwater photography came in handy to fake the Apollo moon missions and spacewalks. Here is the massive underwater neutral buoyancy laboratory in Houston, Texas,
Wow.
which is said to facilitate astronauts with near weightlessness in space, but has been used for decades to facilitate fake space moon footage. Secret societies have been part of the occult or hidden hand of preserving the great lie since the beginning. How cool or powerful it would be for secret societies' recruiting purposes if you could tell your new first 3 Degree Blue members that Buzz Aldrin, the second man we are sold had stepped on the moon, had planted a Scottish Rite Freemason flag on there. From George Washington and his laying of the cornerstones of the White House to many U.S. presidents like Harry S. Truman, many have been Freemasons. So to fake an Apollo moon landing, one Kenneth or Kenny S. Kleinecht managed the Apollo space missions from the beginning until retiring to Lockheed Corp in 1981. He is a 33-degree Mason, and for his great work at NASA and the Apollo fake moon missions, he then became the sovereign Grand Commander and titular head of all Scottish Rite Masons throughout the world. Make no mistake, the powers that run NASA are co-joined, run, and controlled by the military and secret societies of the New World Order, and always have been in modern times. Using Hollywood, whose name comes from the holly tree used by the ancient Druids for black magic, as well as known celebrities to promote their sun-worshipping Horus snake ways, as they show off their serpent tongues to mock those without eyes to see or ears to hear the hidden truth about what is really going on in our world today. There is one more critical piece to the founding of NASA. Jack Whiteside Parsons, who JPL, Jack Parsons Laboratories was named, was considered the father of rocketry. Also joining him were some very nefarious characters in the founding of NASA. We see the complete dream team here of Aleister Crowley, a very well-known occultist, dark magic, black magic person, Jack Parsons, who we just mentioned, R. Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard, founder of Scientology, Werner von Braun, V-2 rocket program, Nazi Germany, and the fantasy creator Walt Disney. Now, looking at Whiteside Parsons, he was an occultist, black magician, Satanist, head of Ordo Templi Orientis California Agape Lodge. Crowley, 33-degree Freemason, leader of the Ordo Templi Orientis, black magician, Satanist, the Beast 666. L. Ron Hubbard, mass mind controller, black magician, Satanist, founder of the Church of Scientology cult. Werner von Braun, who we talked about, and Mr. Walt Disney, who everybody knows about, who's also a known Illuminati and helped with the pedophile Magic Kingdom 33 and all the underground caves at Disney and the mind control programming. So it's quite a group that founded NASA here.
Drop.
Additionally, in 1958, we find that the first solar panels were created. Again, the Arctic Treaty System was founded. The United Nations was founded. Few know that the U.S. deployed a...
Read it. You just mentioned the treaty again, the Arctic Treaty, Antarctic Treaty. All these things started being put in place around the same time. Then you got NASA talking about going to the moon. You got all this stuff cracking at the same time. Copernicus comes in with this model. You got the globes in the school. How can you defend that? How can you defend something that was pushed by the Church of England, London, Europe, Copernicus, Newton? And then read your scriptures and see firm, fixed, and immovable about 5 to 7 times. How many repetitions do you need? How many more witnesses do you need?
Atomic weapons, or said to have deployed atomic weapons in 1958 in Korea at the end of the Korean War, again, probably to promote the Red Scare. And then just we have the Van Allen Belt discovery by satellite explorers 1 and 3. And then very interestingly, the United States completed 6 high-altitude nuclear tests in 1958. But they raised a number of questions. According to the U.S. government report, quote, previous high-altitude nuclear tests, the Teak, the Orange, and the Yucca, plus 3 Argus shots were poorly instrumented and hastily executed. Despite thorough studies of the meager data, present models of these bursts are sketchy and tentative.
These high altitude tests are then blasting through. They're trying to test what the firmament was made out of. When I tell you about the vibrational layer, you think it's a myth. They're trying to blow it up to get chunks off. What's the result? Maybe a meteorite. Maybe some iron. Unless you find an iron naturally on Earth somewhere that I'm not looking. So these tests are specifically for them blasting nuclear bombs to test not the ionosphere, but the firmament itself.
When they got up to the Van Allen belts, did they lose communications? 1961, nuclear test ban is lifted with Russia to test high-altitude weapons. Now, why did they lift the ban when we're beginning to enter into a space race? The Antarctic Treaty System is ratified and signed. The ASPA, which is the Antarctic Special Protection Agency, could be protecting the HARP facilities down there. JFK announces space mission to the moon. Cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space. Alan Shepard, the first American in space in a 15-minute suborbital flight. And few are aware that Russia is said to have launched an Explorer probe to Venus. And even fewer are aware that in a speech, J.F. Kennedy stated that there's already a satellite from the United States heading to Venus in 1961.
To be sure, we are behind, and will be behind for some time in manned flight. But we do not intend to stay behind, and in this decade, we shall make up and move ahead. This is a breathtaking pace, and such a pace cannot help but create new ills as it dispels old. New ignorance, new problems, new dangers.
So, Nuking the Dome, 1962, Operation Dominic. Operation Dominic was a series of 31 nuclear test explosions conducted in 1962. It occurred during a period of the high Cold War tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. Also, the Bay of Pigs invasion had occurred just recently and was on the minds as well. Khrushchev announced the end of the 3-year moratorium on nuclear testing on August 30th, 1961, and immediately thereafter, on September 1st, he initiated a series of tests that included the initiation of SAR bombs up into the upper atmosphere. Kennedy responded immediately by authorizing Operation Dominic, the largest nuclear weapons testing program ever conducted by the United States, and the last atmospheric test series conducted by the U.S., as a limited test ban treaty was signed in Moscow the following year. So this small window they start blasting up in space with thermonuclear weapons. What were they doing? Why were they doing this? What were they trying to find? Dominic was the largest and most elaborate testing operation ever conducted. The diagnostic stations receiving data from the test covered more than 15 million square miles, 28,000 military and civilian personnel, 200 tons of supplies were shipped and airlifted to the test areas. This was a major, major operation, just like down to the Antarctic. The Thor missile was used to lift warheads into near space to conduct the high-altitude nuclear test explosions. These shots were collectively called Operation Fishbowl. Now, do you remember in your mythology who Thor was?
Listen up, back to Greek mythology.
You may recall that Thor in ancient Nordic mythology is the red-bearded son of Odin, of the Norse Hercules. And he's armed with his war hammer and a belt of strength, and he tends to flatten whatever grows inflated beyond natural limits, particularly greedy giants. His chariot is pulled by the goats, Tooth Grinder, and Snarltooth, and his lightning is located in the place of might. Thor safeguards important demarcations while breaking open those that unduly block or limit.
Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C. Look up Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C.
Look it up.
From the late Latin name Dominicus, meaning of the Lord. Fishbowl was part of Operation Dominic. It looks like they are sending high-altitude nuclear bombs to test the fishbowl of the Lord, i.e.
Come on. Just stop for a second. You can't make this shit up. It's called Operation Fishbowl. I just explained you live in a tent. Fine, call it a fishbowl. What's in a fishbowl? Water. That makes more sense, right? Water's above, water's below. So there's water above that they're shooting into, like a fishbowl, to test out the waters above. I can't make this shit up. And they're saying it's the waters above of the Most High. Is that their little Dominic thing? Or is that something else? The firmament. Let's get that back a little bit.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those things to make you go,
Yeah. Let me get that back.
Now, check this out. If you click on Operate
Tooth Grinder and Snarltooth, and his lightning is located in the place of might. Thor safeguards important demarcations while breaking open those that unduly block or limit.
Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C. Look up Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C. From the late Latin name Dominicus, meaning of the Lord. Fishbowl was part of Operation Dominic. It looks like they are sending high-altitude nuclear bombs to test the fishbowl of the Lord, i.e. the firmament. Yeah. This is definitely one of those things to make you go, Now, check this out. If you click on Operation Fishbowl, we learn about Operation Fishbowl here was a series of high-altitude nuclear tests in 1962 that were carried out by the United States as part of the larger Operation Dominic nuclear test program. Now, hold that thought. This is all happening. If you go and look on the Operation Dominic entry, you see the different dates. We're 1962. This is the early part of 1962. We're talking May. I mean, look at all these bombs going off. 25 April, 1962, 27 April, 2 May, 4 May, 6 May, 8 May, 9 May, 11 May, 11 May, 12 May, 14 May, 19, etc., etc., etc. This is all before President Kennedy's "Let's go out into space" speech. But I think a lot of people don't realize that our first stop wasn't the moon. Even before we went to the moon, they were sending probes all of a sudden after all of this. Okay, keep the timeline in mind. Operation High Jump, Operation Deep Freeze, Bird Dives, NASA's founded, Antarctic Treaty signed, Operation Dominic and Fishbowl take effect. And if you notice during President Kennedy's speech, he was talking about that they've already got probes headed to Venus. Wait a minute. We're already sending stuff to Venus and Mars? We haven't even been to the moon yet. Others are claiming, and I think it's a reasonable claim, that, you know, if that model is true, then we know we have a circle, the circle of the Earth as described in the Bible, surrounded by Antarctica, the outer rim, that has a 200 or 300 foot ice wall, cliff, that keeps everything in, hence Operation High Jump. You got to get over that, right? So it looks like, at least from the flat Earth,
Look at that wall.
That probably during Operation Deep Freeze, they may have found the edge of the dome, presumably anywhere from 800 to 1,200 miles inland from the coast. Then everybody pulls out, signs this treaty, says nobody can go back except under the express guidelines of the international community that signed the treaty. So then all of a sudden the United States and Russia engaged in these high altitude nuclear tests. The United States calls theirs Operation Dominic, within which we have Operation,
you have to get a
circle of the Earth as described in the Bible, surrounded by Antarctica, the outer rim, that has a 200 or 300 foot
look at that wall,
ice
man.
wall, cliff,
Google
keeps
ice
everything
wall.
in, hence Operation High Jump. You got to get over that, right? So it looks like, at least from the flat earther perspective, that probably during Operation Deep Freeze, they may have found the edge of the dome, presumably anywhere from 800 to 1,200 miles.
Alright, so I guess you could look at this like a tent, right? Now, Enoch talks about the extreme ends of the earth. And how you saw one part that was surrounded by nothing, like literally sitting on nothing, you know, just like that other, you know, just go back and check out the Flat Earth scripture drop earlier in this channel. So, you know, I don't say, oh, it's just, you know, I don't know how far to land. All I know is that once you get on this ice wall, there's probably more pockets of land, and I think that dome may cover over all that land, you know what I'm saying? So I think if you extend this dome out and put some more land around here, and extend this part out and put some more land, extend this part, put some more land, that might be more likely. But they found something, and it was enough for them to make a treaty, so I rock with them on that.
Inland from the coast. Then everybody pulls out, signs this treaty.
Now, here's the UN. This is how they have their meetings. Who is this in the Middle Earth? Of course, it's all pyramid stuff, right? So you got all that sun worship in there. So they're rocking their frequency, but then they also have a representation of the world. And this is the Earth. This is the Middle Earth. This will really be you. This is the North Pole, which you can't get to. It looks like it's a mountain, right? Something's there. That's why you can't fly over it. No commercial planes are able to fly over whatever this mountain is that's surrounded. Maybe this is water. And then you got the continents. You got all the continents. Then you got water. Then you go all the way to the ice wall. Look at the ice wall. 200-foot ice wall. And now who's protecting the ice wall with a Antarctic treaty that says no one can get close to this thing or we'll shoot your boat and shoot you unless you have a pass? Who has been protecting this ice wall? 53 of the most powerful nations. And who are they? The UN. And we'll get to some UN and some NATO stuff. Some of these tanks coming in, it's the same people. This army coming at you, it's the same people. This is no longer an American affair. This is a corporation that's done. Now it's getting it back into a global affair where there's a king of this kingdom who will reveal himself. And you're going to have to get down and lay down with this king. You can call this king of the illusion. the illusion of seclusion, or you can be united, come together, and rock with Hey, rock with Israel. Get back and order yourselves and let go of your egos. Truth is truth. Drop is drop. So they are guarding the ice wall. If you can notice, they sit in meetings guarding the ice wall the same way as the Antarctic Treaty.
Because nobody can go back except under the express guidelines of the international community that signed the treaty. So then all of a sudden the United States and Russia engaged in these high altitude nuclear tests. And the United States calls theirs Operation Dominic, within which we have Operation Fishbowl.
In the exact same time period, Russia is also testing the dome. The Soviet Union's K project was a group of 5 nuclear tests conducted in 1961-62. They were all high-altitude tests fired by missiles of the Kasputin Yar launch site in Russia. Operation Fishbowl was 10 shots within 5 months. Operation Fishbowl was to be bluegill, starfish, and areca. If the tests were to fail, the next attempt of the same test would be of the same name plus the word prime. They were intent on testing the dome. The first planned test of Fishbowl was June 2nd, 1962. No nuclear detonation occurred, no data was obtained. So
Real
continuing
shit.
from 1958, they're having rockets go out and just lose their way, and instruments go haywire, and they have to detonate it. We see this time again. Operation Starfish, June 19th, 1962. Missile flew a normal trajectory for 59 seconds, and the rocket engines...
If you give even half a shit, if you believe you're spinning on a ball and you give even half a shit, please research each one of these operations: Starfish, Fishbowl, high jump, and then look back at what this model is and what's really happening. See, all this stuff has been documentation, live people talking that have all the drop, admirals, sources. You're getting source after source after source for you to research. I'm just leading you to the water in case you still think you're spinning on a ball, because honestly, it is important to me that you stop spinning. Because then I can actually look you in the eye and we can be still. We can have that moment. We can be brothers, or we can be family. You dig? But if you think you're spinning, it ain't no way you can rock with me. Ain't no way you can help me. You're spinning. I got to wait for you to stop spinning so I can talk to you. Research this
suddenly
stuff.
stopped. The range officer ordered the destruction of the missile. Some of the missile's parts fell on Johnston Island. Some of the debris was contaminated with plutonium. Lovely. Starfish Prime. The Thor missile, this is important, the Thor missile carrying the Starfish Prime warhead actually reached an apogee, maximum height, of just over 680 miles. Remember that, 680 miles. And the warhead was detonated on its downward trajectory when it had fallen to the programmed altitude of 250 miles. Now, why would you send something up 680 miles and detonate it down at 250 miles? Now, also note that all of these tests were conducted at night, mostly at midnight, in the dark of night. They wanted to see what was up there.
Wow.
Starfish Prime, this is very important too, Starfish Prime caused an electromagnetic pulse which was far larger than expected, so much larger that it drove much of the instrumentation off the scale, causing great difficulty in getting accurate measurements. The pulse also made effects known to the public by causing electrical damage in Hawaii some 900 miles away from the detonation point, knocking out 300 street lights, setting off numerous burglar alarms, damaging telephone, microwave links. They had a microwave back there.
Okay, so if if there's not a dome, or if there's not a firmament, what are they shooting at? These are missiles. These are nuclear missiles, armed weapons. Are they blasting at spaceships? I mean, what's your theory? Are they blasting at Mars? Are they just blasting into outer space? Do you know how much money it takes to put together these nuke heads and this program? How much of your money they have to put together to do this? So do you think they would just do it to blast off a missile into the darkness of space? No, they call that a satellite if they going to put some stuff up there, right? But yet we see no pictures of satellites. Real pictures of satellites from outer space. 15,000, 20,000. Everybody got a satellite, but they don't ever collide. Whenever you see the NASA photoshopped paintings of Earth, do they ever have satellites in them? Where's the 20,000 satellites? Where's all the satellites in the pictures, man? Come on, wake up. This is a game. It's an illusion, just like the transatlantic slave trade. They took us from here. But the real joint that they hid was the massacre. The massacre. You were just caught up in the slave trade. But the massacre of the invasion itself, you were fighting and you got massacred. But you never stopped, though. That's what you need to understand. You never stop. So we're not going to stop, man. We're not going to stop with this drop.
Back then, folks, 1961. The visible phenomena due to the burst were widespread and quite intense. A very large area of the Pacific was illuminated by the auroral phenomenon. Resonant scattering of light from lithium, another wonderful metal raining down on us, and other debris was observed at Johnson and French frigate shoals for many days, confirming the long-time presence of debris in the atmosphere. The Starfish Prime radiation belt persisted at high altitude for many months and damaged United States satellites. All of these satellites failed completely within several months of the Starfish detonation. So we have an electromagnetic pulse that's sending all communication devices haywire, and they're having to destroy and fail all of their satellites and missiles. All right. So as of the beginning of 2011, the EMP waveforms and prompt gamma radiation outputs for bluegill triple prime, they had to get to triple prime in their testing.
Wow.
In an unclassified report, however, a subsequent theory, which is now one being used, was developed, which describes the mechanism by which the high-altitude EMP is generated. Data to confirm the EMP theory is still classified. A very large number of United States military ships were operating in support of Prime. In addition, they had some guests. An uninvited scientific expeditionary ship from the Soviet Union was stationed near Johnston Island for the tests, and another Soviet scientific expeditionary ship was located in the southern Kunjgat region. They were working together, folks. This is very important, too. The electromagnetic pulse generated by a high-altitude nuclear explosion appeared to have very significant differences from the electromagnetic pulse generated by the nuclear explosions closer to the surface. So something up high changed the profile of the electromagnetic patterns.
Bang.
It was known from previous high-altitude tests as well as from theoretical work done in the 50s that high-altitude nuclear tests produce a number of unique geophysical phenomena at the opposite end of the magnetic field line of the Earth's magnetic field. So then in 1963, they quickly signed with the Russians. The Nuclear Air Test Ban Treaty is signed, prohibiting all test detonations of nuclear weapons except underground. Shortly thereafter, JFK is assassinated. How convenient. Nikola Tesla. There is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment.
Wow. Wow. Dig on that, man. Dig on that. Almost threw my laptop. What does that say? Let's get that back. Man, if you ain't feeling that, man, you ain't shit. Alright, that was cool. Let's get that last part back.
End of the magnetic field line of the Earth.
I mean, you gotta admit, that was a strong finish. That was a strong finish. So, let me just read what's on here right quick. Oh. No, you can't really see me. I'm trying to tilt this. There we go. All right, cool. It says, this is, and you check this out. You got all the sources up, and I'll give you the link to where this is at. John Glenn pilots the first U.S. manned orbital flight at an orbit 100 to 162 miles from the Earth. Dome found 7,200 miles up. That they're saying that they found the firmament 7,200 miles up. All right. How it says the explosion appeared to have very significant differences from the electromagnetic pulse generated by nuclear explosions closer to the surface, so they can tell by how the pulse was affected, according to the height. It was known from previous high altitude tests as well as from theoretical work done in the late 1950s that the high altitude nuclear tests produce a number of unique geophysical phenomena at the opposite end of the magnetic field line of the Earth's magnetic field. I can't even tell you what that means, man. But please look it up. I drop it to you because, I don't, you got to put this together. You know what I'm saying? This drop is literally for the nation to put this together. Don't sit back and wait for drop to put it together or any of us. You put it together. We're yelling at you. We're all yelling at the community to come together with drop. You know what I mean? And every day there's somebody new popping up with drops. So love to everybody that's just grabbing a surfboard and they jumping out. It's like, man, I've been on YouTube, but I ain't never broadcast. But I do got a phone, so let me just try it out. Do it, man. I'll support you. We support you, man. Just, if you're rocking, man, you're rocking with the creator. You're rocking with this turn of events, this high energy that's coming in, this wave of understanding, you know what I'm saying, that we were surfing on this wave. Come on. Come on. So then they did a limited nuke air test ban treaty signed. But let's see how we ended this, man. This is cold.
So then in 1963, they quickly signed with the Russians. A nuclear air test ban treaty is signed, prohibiting all test detonations of nuclear weapons except underground. Shortly thereafter, JFK is assassinated. How convenient. Nikola Tesla. There is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment.
There is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment. I'm just going to let you dig on it. And what's this drop? He says, I believe he says, though something, I gotta let this play a little more so I can see it. It's kind of blocked out, man. I wish it wasn't, but unfortunately, I'm just going to read what I think it said. All right, though, though free, here. Somebody just read it and told me. Though free to think and act, we are held together like the stars in the firmament. This is Nikola Tesla. This is free energy. This is energy, frequency, vibration. This is swag frequency. Your swag frequency, because all his experimentation about energy really had to do with you. Your energy. Though free to think and act, we are held together like the stars in the firmament, with ties inseparable. These ties cannot be seen, but we can feel them. So though we, remember, the illusion of seclusion, something just keeps bringing that out, man. The illusion of seclusion, because we are not divided. We got to even stop saying, man, we got to unite. I got to stop saying we got to unite, because we are already united. We just got to wake up. When we wake up, we realize, though free to think and act, so we're free to think and act, Israel, we are still held together like the stars in the firmament. We can't move without each other. That's the secret. So they create an illusion of seclusion that keeps us dogging our brothers and sisters out, trying to get to the top of this structure. Meanwhile, we got all this land, 770 million acres of land they're fighting for between the state and the Fed right now. All that land in the four corners is Anasazi land, first people land. You are that. You are the Aztec. You are the first people. You are the indigenous. You are the copper-colored races. This is your turf. Claim it. Though free to think and act, we are held together like the stars in the firmament, with ties inseparable. These ties cannot be seen, but we can feel them. Feel them. Vibration, sound, frequency. Feel them. Vibration, sound, frequency. above the firmament, like the stars in the firmament, he says. In the firmament. All right, so that's Tesla. And we are all energy, man. But we are connected volume of energy. We're all connected. We're all connected. I'll let this play out. That's your covenant, Israel. Gleason Matt. What is it? Snow globe? Turtle Island. Turtle Gang. Shout out to Turtle Gang. Alright. Shout out to A Plain Truth. A Plain Truth got that drop, man. Appreciate all that information, all that resources, man. So the water is there for you. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. I want to go to an amazing flight of a balloon to the edge of space. So here's an independent balloon test to, so you can see it from at least their perspective. There's a lot of these independent balloon experiments with people sending their own balloons up. Some of them got those GoPro lenses, but you'll see them go, curvature will go in and out like this, but just imagine if it was steady, that's what it would be. So when you see it going concave in and out, you know that it's manufactured curvature from these GoPro lenses, these Felix, whatever his name was, the Red Bull guy, all that curvature was just manufactured. So they use special lenses to trick you. Yes, they're that effed up. Let's check it out. An independent balloon experiment. Let's see if we can see what our world really looks like. So we're on a balloon right now. That's the camera on the balloon. We're gonna go higher and higher. Let's see if it's round or flat. Here's the moment of truth. I love science. I love observable science, repeatable science. Is that round or flat? Going higher. Going higher, 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 higher. Higher, higher. Higher, higher. Gotta have fun, baby. You see the way it's going in and out? That's just a GoPro lens. Don't let that fuck you up. Stay with me. That's just the lens. It's really flat. If it can go this way, it can go this way. So that's just their funny lens. That's what NASA uses, these funny lenses. Use your senses. Come alive. Activate. Look at the sun. Is that 96 million miles away? Or is that right on top of the clouds, about 4,000 miles away? Use your senses. What's your reality? What's your illusion? Where's the sun? Where's that little sun? Where's that little bitty sun? Like a little flashlight. Where's the sun? How big is the sun? Enoch said it's 32 miles across. Is it 32 miles across? Look at the hot spot. Look at the sun. Let's get that back. There we go. Hey, wait, almost. Man, sorry, y'all. Y'all don't understand. I'm doing this upside down. I could just pick it up, but I challenged myself. And I'm using my left, man. Using my left. Lay up. Look at the hot spot. Can you see that? Or do we got to back it up a little more? Can you see this hot spot? I hope you can see that. Because this is not play, man. This is real footage. This is not doctored. This is not photoshopped like all of NASA's pictures. And there's many more like this. Let me get the right shot for y'all. Boom. Where's the sun? I just want you to meditate on this photo right quick. I know it's fucked up, man. They told us we was on the ball spinning and that the sun was 96 mil. Just imagine how fucking far that had. 96 million miles. It's unreachable and we're circling it. Does it look like we're circling this? When you see the light coming in angles and creating a hot spot, can that happen from 96 million miles away? And would light be hitting the earth in an angle and creating angles from 96 million miles away? Or do you have to... sorry, I get excited. Shit. Let me change my angle up. But do you have to be close to be a flashlight right on top of the surface, creating an beaming like a spotlight? Spotlight. Your sun, we'll get into it right in a second, but it's a light that travels. Why do you think Joshua had to ask the sun to stay still so he can finish his war? Huh? Did he say earth stop spinning? Or did he ask the sun to stay still? This is your sun. It's the same size as the moon. The book of Enoch says the sun and the moon, 32 miles across, they're twins. All right. This is Tomas. It's one of the names. This is a male. The moon is feminine. You can call the moon Ibla, all kind of things. I think Beniace or Benace or Benassi, something like that. You figure it out. But those are some names that they had for it. Same thing, 7 times brighter than the moon. The moon has its own light, its own luminary. It cools the surface. Look at the moon temperature experiments. The moonlight has the opposite light principles as the sun. When the moonlight hits a surface, it cools it. So if you put out a thermometer in the moon shade or in the moonlight and put another one in this moon shade, tuck it away from the moonlight, in the darkness, the one that's in the darkness will be warmer than the one that's been directly hit by the moonlight, because the moonlight cools surfaces while the sunlight heats up surfaces, which shows it's an opposite principle. So if the moon was reflecting the sunlight, it would not have an opposite principle. It can only be the same principle as that which it is reflecting. So it's a separate luminary. The same size, 32 miles. Does it not look like it could be 32 miles? And again, that's all light. So it's only, when you stare into the sun, it's like a little iris inside of it, right? It's like a little ball. So that's the same size as the moon, hitting a direct hotspot that can only be caused from a few thousand feet, a few thousand miles, not 96,000 miles. Deal with it. Look at that. Where's the sun? Where's the sun? Is it 96 miles away? Million miles away? Look at this earth. The lens is gone. Is it a concave earth? Huh? Is it concave? Or is that just the lens? Is it flat? All flat. Use your senses. Wake up. Are you on a ball? Are you on a concave? Are you on a ball? Or are you on a flat surface? Flat surface. Dig on it, man. Where's your ball? Where's your ball? Shouldn't we be curving rapidly from this height? You should see all kind of curvature from this height, right? All right, think about being the size of an ant. You stand on a basketball. You're an ant on a basketball. Because you're on a ball, the higher you go, so if I pick you up, you're standing on top of the basketball, you're standing on the so-called North Pole, so I give you a ladder or some type of thing, and an elevator, you go straight up. The higher you go, the more curvature is going to fall right off because you're on top of the ball, right? So the higher you go on, you're going straight up, that curvature will be more and more prevalent. These people are super duper high. And you still see no curve. Only the little lens going, this little funny way. But still, if it was a ball, it wouldn't be, you wouldn't see none of this. You could only see the concaveness because of a flat surface. If you were on a ball, would you ever see this thing go concave? Could this ever go like this if this was truly a ball? Or would that only happen, with that type of funny lens just going in and out a little bit constantly? But on a ball, would it ever go all the way like this? Dig on it. You can't prove gravity. You can't prove no ball. If gravity is a theory, it's not a law. You can't prove gravity. You can't prove no ball. Gravity is a theory. It's not a law. You can't prove gravity. You can't prove no ball. Gravity is a theory. It's not a law. Put it on a t-shirt, swag freak. Now this guy has been zooming and going for how long? You see the motion? Have you seen your curve yet? Not the little funny little camera light. Have you seen your curve yet? Where's your ball? You're on the ball. These people are miles high. Where's your ball? Have they lied to you? Have they lied to me? Have they lied to us? Are they known for kind of doing that, though? Now look, the balloon pop. We're falling down. Pay attention. Look at your ball. Look at your ball. Look at your ball. He's spinning around. He's going crazy, but where's your ball? I mean, surely he's covered enough miles to see a ball, right? Or not? Look how close the sun is. And this thing switched to some GPS camera, something like that. It's going in for a landing. All right. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. So check it. I'll leave the link. You go check out some more of these. Just type in Google or YouTube balloon experiment, flat Earth. You know, stuff will pop up. Amateur. Yada yada. All right. So that brings us to our next joint. We're definitely going to have to probably do a part 2. But I really hope I can get this in before that. But yeah, we're definitely going to do a part 2. So don't trip. Let's get it. This is the flat Earth and the 4th dimension. So now we can start getting to our vibration, higher octaves. And, you know, some models have the sun circling us, you know, in a circuit that way. Other models have a circuit going straight. And you'll see why. See, if we live in an environment like a tent, then the bottom is like a, you know, like a rectangle. And then there's a tent that goes over the rectangle. So that particular rectangle, you know, they're saying has a sun that comes. And once it gets to the other side, the edge, it goes into whatever portals, which is also talked about in the book of Enoch. And portals back from this side to this side. So goes from the east portal, goes back to the west portal. And so Enoch, you know, says he's seen the sun go in and out of the portal, and the stars go in and out these portals. So at the ends of the earth, apparently, are these portals, which again show that you don't have to go straight up to get into the celestial. You can go straight. Eventually, that tent is going to run into the earth itself. And at that point is where the stars meet the earth. And that where the stars meet the earth, or where the portals are, those are the extreme ends of the earth. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Enoch breaks down thoroughly. Let's get into some of this. Flat Earth in the 4th dimension. Again, I'm just going for it. I don't try to hold the drop because I don't know how much longer we got for this drop. I'm trying to stop you from spinning. This is my honest effort because I love you. I ain't trying to be right. It ain't about right or wrong. It's about truth, man. Either it's round or it's not. You can't be an egg, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be an egghead. All right, so we're in it for truth. Let's go. I got, man, nothing but time, man. Nothing but time. If there was such a thing.
Discussing the large-scale structure of the cosmos, astronomers sometimes say that space is curved, or that the universe is finite but unbounded. Whatever are they talking about? Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean, absolutely flat.
Flat.
That we live, appropriately enough, in the flatland.
Hold up right quick.
Land.
Excuse me.
Excuse
me.
Abbott, a Shakespearean scholar who lived in Victorian England. That into flatland, hovering above it, comes a strange.
And we saw a piece of this before, but we're going to try to watch the whole thing this time. This is very interesting stuff here. Very interesting stuff here. All right.
In discussing the large-scale structure of the cosmos, astronomers sometimes say that space is curved, or that the universe is finite but unbounded. Whatever are they talking about? Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean, absolutely flat, and that we live, appropriately enough, in a flatland, a land designed and named by Edwin Abbott, a Shakespearean scholar who lived in Victorian England. That into flatland, hovering above it, comes a strange three-dimensional creature which, oddly enough, looks like an apple. And the three-dimensional creature sees an attractive, congenial-looking square, watches it enter its house, and decides in a gesture of interdimensional amity to say hello. After a while, he comes to realize that he is seeing inside closed rooms in flatland. He is looking inside his fellow flat creatures. He is seeing flatland from a perspective no one has ever seen it before to his knowledge. Getting into another dimension provides as an incidental benefit a kind of X-ray vision. Now our flat creature slowly descends to the surface, and his friends rush up to see him. From their point of view, he has mysteriously appeared from nowhere. He hasn't walked from somewhere else. He's come from some other place. They say, for heaven's sake, what's happened to you? And the poor square has to say, well, I was in some other mystic dimension called up. And they will pat him on his side and comfort him, or else they'll ask, well, show us, where is that third dimension? Point to it. And the poor square will be unable to comply. But maybe more interesting is the other direction in dimensionality. What about the fourth dimension? Now, to approach that, let's consider a cube. We can imagine a cube in the following way. You take a line segment and move it at right angles to itself in equal length. That makes a square. Move that square in equal length at right angles to itself, and you have a cube. Now, this cube, we understand, casts a shadow. And that shadow we recognize. It's, ordinarily drawn in third grade classrooms as two squares with their vertices connected. Now, if we look at the shadow of a three-dimensional object in two dimensions, we see that, in this case, not all the lines appear equal. Not all the angles are right angles. The three-dimensional object has not been perfectly represented in its projection in two dimensions, but that's part of the cost of losing a dimension in the projection. Now, let's take this three-dimensional cube and project it, carry it through a fourth physical dimension. Not that way, not that way, not that way, but at right angles to those three directions. I can't show you what direction that is, but imagine that there is a fourth physical dimension. In that case, we would generate a four-dimensional hypercube is also called a tesseract. I cannot show you a tesseract because I and you are trapped in 3 dimensions. But what I can show you is the shadow in 3 dimensions of a 4-dimensional hypercube or tesseract. This is it. And you can see it's 2 nested cubes, all the vertices connected by lines. And now the real tesseract in 4 dimensions would have all the lines of equal length and all the angles right angles. That's not what we see here, but that's the penalty of projection. So, you see, while we cannot imagine the world of 4 dimensions, we can certainly think about it perfectly well.
Read it. Dig on in. Get you a plate. Get you some of this broccoli, man. Something like that. Get you some spinach, man. You know what I mean? Eat up, Popeye. What did it say? Crescent moon, Jesuit, Copernicus. When people say Copernicus came with this ball earth, well, I mean, come on. The initiator of heliocentrism, Nicholas Copernicus, holding a sun symbol, as it is common for members of religious sects based on sun worship. Sun worship. So if this guy, if this is Copernicus, let's just try to just put a theory together. and add it to our journey. Let's just start with this. Because, I mean, it's kind of right there, right? So, this guy got a sun wheel. He worshiped the sun. Yes or no? Follow me, fam. Follow me, fam. Does Copernicus, Nicholas Copernicus, Nikolai, does he worship the sun? Yes or no? Do Jesuits worship the sun? Yes or no? Okay, so if this guy comes with and frames this model that he has to now bring in and everybody has to now adopt, all the churches now adopted, the public curriculums and all that, and the schools and all that, the universities adopt his model. He never proved it. He never had a plane. Remember, the first airplane was what, in the 1900s? So how did Copernicus, remember, Copernicus is the Darwin of astrology. You know, Darwin is known for hiding God, you know, by evolution. You know, just Big Bang, stuff happened. There's no transitional fossils, but hey, one thing turned into this, but there's always a missing link, right? All this, you know, whatever. So what does Copernicus do? He says, Big Bang. So the Big Bang theory and theory of evolution, they both high God. They just kind of happen. They go hand by hand. And anybody going against it in science is ostracized. So science is no longer about reputable, observable science. It is just about a boys club, you know, peer-reviewed stuff, based on peer-reviewed stuff, and everybody's, you know, hobnobbing. All right, so Copernicus brings the sun worshiper himself, introduces this model, and that's the reason why you think you're spinning on a ball today. That's the reason for the globe. Helios means that now the earth is circling the sun instead of the sun circling around you or going in some type of loop or fashion or circuit, however the circuit is. Instead of the sun moving, we have to be moving around it, worshiping it, circling the cube, right? Circling the square. Come on. Huh? Huh? You thought this was play? No. No play. No play. No play. What? They got Antarctica here? Because, I mean, where else could Antarctica be? Do you see Antarctica here? Nah. There's no Antarctica, right? So, yeah, that's the ice wall. That's how they sit in their meetings. And that's also the sun wheel. Ain't that some shit? 33 degree. You already know. Oh. That's your boy. That's the egg. The egghead. Yeah. Let's go. Wowzer. Alright, here's where we start having fun. Just relax and take this like water. Don't use your left brain. Take it like water. So here's how the circuit, that's one theory, right? The circuit. Here's another theory. One portal, another portal. I'll back it up. All right, to answer the question, if space loop is possible in a heliocentric three-dimensional universe. All right, so this whole concept of space loop is very fascinating, and I think there's a lot of drop to it when you start digging through these layers. I'll read this with you. The following is not possible in a three-dimensional heliocentric universe. Okay, and they're showing you, just follow the model. Now, they're saying the following. So what they're about to show you, they're saying it's not possible in a heliocentric universe where the sun, where we're circling the sun, and the sun is not, making a circuit around us. All right, so what we're about to see is their model of how the sun is making a circuit. And they're going to show it going from the eastern portal to the western portal. So if you are in between that, the sun is going over you, okay? Now, it's also going to match up with the, traditional type of circuit theory that way, where you'll see it kind of timed and mathematically timed, however they did it, to match up precisely. So you're going to see the same circuit here happening with the sun here. They're just showing you both models where one model, the sun is circling us, but if we stretch it out and just look at it like a tent, we're the rectangular base of the tent, and this sun is going from one portal to the next portal. However, it's going in and out, different portals, up and down. That's what we're looking into. This is when we start just to have a theory, hypothesis. We're not afraid to throw some stuff out there and see, because we know we've been lied to. So we're putting everything together from scratch, brick by brick, in this frequency. So I appreciate y'all for vibing, surfing the wave. Just enjoy this, man. We're going to go to part 2 pretty soon. I just want to read this to those, some people, like, they got their earphones in and they can't hear, all they can do is listen. So I'm going to try to help out. In most of them, a fourth dimension was attributed to geometrical shapes, such as the tesseract, never to space in general. So they haven't really attributed the fourth dimension to space in general, but just to certain geometric shapes. For all it's worth, dig on it. This is just some water. Accept it as water. Water hits a cup, it becomes a cup. All right, don't try to figure it out with this source or that source. Just try to flow with everything you know and accept it as water, because when you're anchored in truth, only truth is going to remain.
When the experiments were done to determine which view of reality was the right view,
the Einsteinian view or the more standard quantum mechanical view, the experiments came to a pretty definitive outcome that Einstein's view is not the right view of reality, that the quantum view really does describe the experimental data, which, at least in the most conventional interpretation, does mean that what you do over here can, in this weird quantum mechanical way, affect something over there. Now, if that's the case, what can you do with this? Well, one thing that people have been able to do is quantum teleportation. That is, you take an object over here and interact with it in a certain quantum mechanical way that allows an influence to happen over there, and the influence over there allows you to recreate the object that you started with over here at that distant location. Object starts here, and in a sense winds up over there. Quantum teleportation.
Backup storage, reserve power, on.
What is it?
It's your Stargate.
We've opened a doorway to a world we know nothing about.
Beam is locked.
Research CERN, go back in these archives, go on this channel. We have a 5-hour radio show dedicated to CERN and prophecy and scripture. Shout out to my brother, Silas Nehemiah.
Itself out to a point somewhere in the Kalium galaxy. It's on the other side of the known universe.
Your turn now.
They prepared for danger.
Begin final evacuation.
They expected the unknown.
Stabilizing system.
Initiating commencement sequence.
But they could never have imagined this.
Wow. Pay attention, y'all. It's about to get fun. The illusion of seclusion will be destroyed before your very eyes. Vibrate. Activate. You are already unified. All you have to do is activate. You see, Israel, it's all about energy. You're created in a signature, and you've always been united. You just were put to sleep into the illusion of seclusion. Order or chaos? What came first? The Big Bang Theory or sound frequency directed energy transfer into your ruach? Direct energy transfer into your ruach. Your ruach is these. All these balls are your ruach. All of us. This is all of us. We are all together in this. All connected. Literally connected. Literally connected on this tree of life.